Hi all, welcome to The Wife of Caesar. My name is Michel Levien, or Michel Levien, either is fine. As you know, The Wife of Caesar is Streiner's project to talk about corruption or anti-corruption using words that everybody can understand so that we can fight corruption in our day-to-day lives with just a little bit more than good intentions. Now, today we get to talk about the news and, of course, we talk again about Rafael Correa. And of course, it's personal this time. So as you might, what transcended in the news, what came through in the news is that Correa was sentenced in Ecuador to, my apologies, this should say prison, to 8 years in prison and a 25-year-long debarment. Now, prison is fairly simple, fairly straightforward, but debarment essentially means that Correa has lost his right to participate in political processes for a duration of 25 years. He cannot vote nor be voted into office. That means that he will lose all of his political rights until 2045. Now, as you might recall, we discussed this in an earlier episode. Correa was the president of Ecuador from 2007 to 2017, so essentially 10 years, and he was accused, at the end of his tenure as president, he was accused of the crime of bribery in the first degree. Now, bribery let's take it by piece. Now, bribery is giving or offering something of value to a public servant, to a public official, in exchange for something improper, in exchange for her to do or to refrain from doing something proper, something illicit. Right? Great. Now, we use the qualifier in the first degree when the person committing or allegedly committing the crime acted with malice aforethought, with bad intentions, with something that might make the crime even worse than it already is. And so, for example, circumstances of abuse where the victim is in a vulnerable position, that would be in the first degree, things like that. And in Ecuador, the crimes are considered to be committed in the first degree when several different circumstances might occur. And one of those circumstances is that the crime is committed by abusing public office, which in this case, he held the highest public office in the land. So that essentially makes it bribery in the first degree. Now, for this crime, Correa was tried in absentia, and that essentially means that he was taken to court without having to go to court, which is kind of a conundrum. But countries very rarely do this because citizens have to be guaranteed the right to appear before a court and to defend themselves and face their accusers. Very only on the rarest of occasions do courts or tribunals allow for people to be tried in absentia, and that means that the crime of which they are being accused is so severe, so heinous, that it is worse to go without that trial than to carry out the trial without the person. And of course, this court, the Supreme Court of Ecuador, issued a ruling which we discussed above already: 8 years in prison and 25 years debarment. Now, Correa has said through his attorneys and using social media that he will appeal the sentence to the Inter-American Court of Human Rights. But his chances, in my humble opinion, his chances in this court are slim to none. Now, let's back up a little bit. The Inter-American Court of Human Rights is an international court that protects the citizens of the Americas against violations to their human rights by their own governments. So if my government were to violate my human rights, even at the highest level of the judiciary, of the courts, for example, the Supreme Court, I still have one last recourse, and it is to appear before the Inter-American Court of Human Rights and ask them to help me, because essentially my government is violating my rights. Now, it is very likely that Correa's defense will allege that trying Correa in absentia violates his human rights to appear in court and to be heard and defeated before a court, which is essentially a human right. It is not very likely that it will succeed because Correa, as some people might remember, has widely and very publicly criticized the Inter-American Court of Human Rights. He has disqualified the actual court whose help he is now going to ask. He has been He has been in exile in Belgium since 2017. So since his tenure as a president ended, he fled, or rather left the country and went into exile, as he calls it, in Belgium, where he has lived since, and from where he is coordinating with his legal defense team to fight this case. Of course, he has broadly discredited the ruling via social media, saying that it's a travesty of justice and that he will appeal. And we, of course, will have to wait and see what will happen. But of course, we will keep you apprised of any developments. And that's it for today. Thank you for joining us. As you know, please, every act of corruption should be denounced. Please blow the whistle, but do so safely. If you're not sure whether or not what you're looking at is corruption, or you're not sure that you're entirely safe, please refrain from acting. Reach out to someone who might be able to help you. Feel free to reach out to us at info@streiner.mx, and we will be glad to help you. But above all, please, please, please stay safe. Again, this was The Wife of Caesar. My name is Michel Levien, or Michel Levien. Either is fine. And you have a happy Friday.